left the light on in the bathroom. Ah. Good morning. Hi. This is video 702. And it's very early in the morning. It's October 11th. I'm out here on the headset. Get more better audio with the headset on this laptop. I hate to see this laptop get slow. You know how that goes. You buy a new computer and you're like, oh, hey, this is the way it should be, and then within a year, 6 months, you're like, boy, that's kind of slow and it doesn't boot up as much as it used to. And you're like, what? What happened? But anyway, it's beside the point. Good morning to you. I wanted to make a quick video. It will be short, I think. Hope. Just a video that's going to touch upon, I might call it realistic expectations. And the second point will be a bit about etiquette, I think. Etiquette, diplomacy, being tactful. Okay, I'm going to take another swig of Jizzy Pizzy. Okay, it's coffee. So the first one is about realistic expectations. When we start this process, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. We ask our friends, we ask the people that we meet, that we know, the support group people, people on Facebook. When I was initially started to think about transitioning, it was IRC, Internet Relay Chat. Thank goodness the computers are there to help us talk to people, to let us know that we're not alone. We're not crazy individual sinners who are, God's not punishing us, whatever. We have the ability to talk to somebody else who's going through it, we only have anecdotes and other people's experiences to go off of. How much will my body change? How much of my body hair is going to go away? How much will I change my personality? How much will our personality change? How much will just everything? We just don't know. You are spinning the wheel of fate and fortune, as it were, and you don't know what you're going to get, because it's dependent so much on our physiology, our biology, how our DNA is written, our ethnic background, everything. It's just so many factors that come into play when you start taking hormones, right? So, that being said, and a large factor too is how old you are. You're obviously someone in their 20s is going to react probably much better than someone in your 40s or your 60s, okay? And so the idea of being realistic kind of comes into play here. And it would be, I think you would be a much happier person if you pardon the inference and the assumption on my behalf. I think you're going to be a much better person and appreciate your outcome a lot better if you realize there are limitations to how much your transition is going to, how much your body is going to change, how much your personality is going to change, your voice, etc. We all know I think the voice is a lot of yes, you can affect your voice, and you can train your voice, obviously, and you can learn how not to resonate. Like I'm resonating a lot right now. I feel it. If you want to, okay. Let's not go down that direction. What I want to stress is accepting the fact that there are limitations, okay? And maybe as a mental exercise, put it on a scale of 1 to 10. If you happen to be so fortunate as to be a young child prepubescent, you know, let's say 6, 7, 8, less than 10 years old, and you knew you were transgender and you had access to all the money in the world and the greatest parents in the world, and you were put on some sort of blocker to prevent your body from developing, and then you took estrogen or testosterone, depending on which way you're going, um, and you had 10 or so years while your body was developing, your bone structure, I mean, all of those things, and let's say that's a 10, okay? Uh, you would, as far as your potential goes, for that individual person based on their DNA and their body physiology and everything else, their background, whatever, everything that comes into play as far as your looks go. Um, excuse me. When that same person, let's say they don't have those opportunities, but they transition in their 20s, okay? But they have all access to all the money in the world, all the doctors in the world, great parents, blah, 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 blah. You know, there may, out of that 10-point scale, maybe it's a 9 or an 8. And let's say same person transitions in their 40s. And again, they have all the money in the world, access to everything. You know, that may be at a 7 or a 6 out of that 10. And you can say, well, okay, with all the money in the world, I can do surgery, I can have facial feminization, I can trach shave, breast augmentation, plastic surgery comes into play. Not to say you couldn't with those other options, but you wouldn't need it because, well, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Don't cis women do breast augmentation? Yes. Don't they do plastic surgery? Nip tuck? Yes. So yeah, I'm forgetting about the surgical aspect. But what I'm trying to say is, if you pardon the bad driving to it, the older that we get, and based on our own body physiology, our DNA, our racial ancestry, and everything, that scale gets less and less and less compared to our cis brothers and sisters, okay? And so what I'm saying is, be aware of the limitations that you have and celebrate what you do have. And I'll put me in the picture here, and not because I'm egotistical, but I only know about myself firsthand, okay, because I lived it. With access to the greatest surgeons in the world and the biggest money stockpile you've ever seen, where I'm at now, at 49, okay, yes, I can hire a dietitian and a gym, and I can lose a large amount of weight. If you go back to where I was 3 years ago, I was 120 pounds lighter. There are things that I have that I can do, but my body frame is of a large. I'm an obese person, but my body frame is huge. Okay, my mother was huge. Her mother was huge. Goes back and back and back and back. Okay, which is not to use that as an excuse. Like, I'm big boned, which I probably am, but my body type is that way. So lose as much weight as I can. I mean, I can remember, again, when I was about 120 pounds lighter, I could stick my fingers under my rib cage. Okay, I couldn't do that now. There's too much. You can see the flab there. Okay, so there are limitations to that. I'm 6 foot tall. No amount of chemicals. I mean, unless the surgeons go in and cut my legs off, and take 2 or 3 inches off my legs and then somehow put me back together again, and put bolts and struts to keep my legs together where they've been broken, I'm not going to be a 5'2" woman. Okay, I'm 6 foot tall. There are limitations, my bone structure, my skeleton, everything else. Okay, so again, I have to accept those limitations and say, yeah, I'm 49 years old. I'm not going to be a 27-year-old trans woman or woman. Okay, I'm not gonna. You know what I'm saying? There are limitations to what we can do. Although, yes, you do have. If you have the biggest pile of money in the world and the access to the greatest surgeons in the world, there's a lot you can do. I mean, look at cis women. Okay, who have had lots of plastic surgery. Although eventually, you can tell they've had plastic surgery, and I mean, you reach a point of diminishing returns. As Kamala Harris would say, but here's the thing. Um, there's limitations. And so I think no matter where you are in your transition, how old, be aware of those limitations. And yes, they can be, dysphoria, I think is the word. Things we experienced before we transitioned, oh, I'm hairy, I don't want to be, I'm a woman in a man's body, and, my arms are so hairy, and my beard is so thick, and, yes. But I think part of coming into your own, and I want to say transgender maturity. Is that a word I can use? A phrase I can use? Once you get into your groove and you understand who you are, and I'm going to even say, once you develop your own style. Okay, my stepfather said when I was younger, we were talking about dating women and whatnot, and he said one of the differences between a woman and a girl is a woman knows her style. She has her own sense of style, which I think is true to a certain degree. But once you kind of come into your trans maturity, which doesn't necessarily mean age, but let's say 3 years into it, 2 or 3 year, 4 year, 5 year into it, and the hormones have done all they're going to do, and you come to accept who you are and everything else. I think you can count your blessings. On the one hand, you're like, yes, I still have my shortcomings. And yeah, I'm going to consider breast augmentation. I'm going to consider facial feminization, all those things. But I think there's a bit of realistic expectation. A bit like I said, what I'm driving to, and I'm sorry if it's taking too long, is just have realistic expectations for what you're going to do. And I've made mention before with me, and an electrolysis is the deal. There are limitations. I've had 14 laser sessions, okay, in my life here. In the last 5 years, I've had 14 different laser sessions, where they zapped my whole face, my neck, and everything. And I've been doing electrolysis for 3 years, okay? Almost bi-weekly. Sometimes, 3 weeks go by, but every other week, fairly religiously, I might add. And I still have lots of hair. I mean, I still have if I let it grow, But part of that maturity, what I'm talking about is, I've realized with my retirement, I want to retire. And every dollar that I put into my retirement today is going to help me out. It's going to grow exponentially. So, I'm not putting all my money into electrolysis. I'm actually putting it into my 401k. So, but again, I'm accepting of that. But I think it's important to just know the limitations of your transition, or of our transitions. Um, you know, it may very well be that we have excessive body hair for the rest of our lives. It may be that we have, I'm going to say a deep voice, but, just be realistic of you know what I mean? Be realistic. I think I think we'd be a much happier person. And the other thing is, all of these extra things cost money. Facial feminization, as far as I know, is not really covered under insurance. trach shave. I mean, you kind of get into some gray areas there. But when we're younger, we don't have access to money like we do when we're later in life. Hopefully, just the more you work, the more you save, etc., etc. The American dream. So again, it's just a matter of being realistic. Now that said, I want to dovetail that into count your blessings. You may not be a 21-year-old, but you did get to transition, and you do get to experience life as a woman as best you can. Um, you may, your face may not be, cover girl worthy, cover girl worthy. Uh, but you do get to go to work every day as a woman and interact with other people as a woman. And in many ways, you are experiencing life as cis women do. Um, when we think of women, when I think of women, let me take you out of it, put me in it. That way I don't assume anything. Uh, when I watch TV, that's a good example. When I watch TV, you know, the ads are for young. When it comes to women, it's either CoverGirl, okay, it's either women selling makeup who don't need to be wearing makeup. They get these beautiful young ladies, 18, 19, 20, my skin, and it's like, what does that do? Well, it makes older women, plays off their insecurities to try and be younger, so they want to wear the makeup. In the same way that I see older, middle-aged women in the commercials, oh, I need this youth serum, this eye serum, Neutrogena, not Neutrogena, but, any company you want, this miracle eye cream that reduces wrinkles, it's playing off women's insecurities to make them look younger, okay? And so, in some regards, if you're a middle-aged trans woman and you feel insecure about your looks, guess what? You're a woman just like cis women who are the same thing, and there's this whole industry to play off your insecurities to make you want to be younger. I mean, congratulations. We've made it. Okay? We've made it. So, I've about beat this horse dead to the ground, I'm sure, but be aware of your limitations, I guess, and your expectations and what's really going to happen. And yes, like I said, surgery, at some point, plastic surgery can take over. How much money do you want to sink into this? And how much of us, I know I don't have an endless war chest. I don't. And like I said, I've accepted my limitations and have moved on, and I'm thinking about the future and my retirement and everything else. And that's not to say everyone should do that, but like I said, just be aware of your limitations. Okay? Do yourself a favor and celebrate your achievements. After years and years and years of debating it and feeling bad and guilty in therapy, when you make that decision, you know what, by golly, I'm going to transition. I'm going to be the man that I am on the inside. I'm going to be the woman that I am on the inside. That is the reason for celebration. As you get your letters and you go through therapy initially and you talk about all these issues that were behind you and you're dealing with things, your shadow self, all the things, Jungian psychology there, congratulations. That's the reason for celebration. You're dealing with things you need to do. As you take your hormones and your body changes and you deal with therapy and things are changing in your life and you're dealing with people around you, that's a rough road. As you make it, celebrate those milestones. Those are achievements. And as you get ready to go full time, you're making a huge step in your life. And how many people have the courage to do things that are rough and tough? And again, celebrate your achievements. Be happy with it. And if you've made it to year 2 or 3 of your being full time, man, that's an awesome. Celebrate that achievement, you know. And if you get to leave your house, uh, this is gonna be extremely personal for me. I roll out of bed. I've got hairy legs. I've got hairy arms because I don't shave my legs. And I don't wear makeup. If you can roll out of bed with 3 or 4 days of beard stubble and go to the grocery store, come home, celebrate that achievement, because in reality, other cis women do the same thing, you know. So let's leave that for a moment and let's talk about etiquette, because I've seen this lately. I've experienced this lately. And this is going to be a rough topic, but I hope it will increase your awareness. And probably you already do this to a certain degree. But when in a group of people, and I'll say trans women, trans men, be aware of who's around you. I was in a group of trans women yesterday. And I guess I'd have to set the stage to say that there were trans women of all different ages in this room. Some in their 20s who hadn't transitioned, were thinking about transitioning. Mid-20s who started to transition. 30s, who had, transitioned. 40s who had transitioned. 50s who had transitioned. We had one in the 60s who transitioned, and a 70-year-old person who transitioned. And a trans woman got up and said something about, you all don't understand. I have a higher bar. I'm beautiful and I have to look beautiful. Da 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 da. But you don't understand. Okay. What does that mean? And I guess the lesson from it is, or what I'm gonna try and say is, number one, don't assume that people don't go through the same things that we're experiencing. There's a very smart woman, actually one of my mentors when I first joined. Her name is Tess Graham. She's alive. She's out there. She's awesome. You may have seen her if you live in Louisville. She was on the news. They occasionally tap her for news interviews. I met her. I saw her the first time, and I had a chance to meet her. She's awesome. She's a trans woman. She's retired. Post-op. But Tess said something at a support group meeting. She said, one of the reasons why I like coming here and talking with people and sharing is because I know that every single person in this room knows what I've been through. I don't have to really go into the details because everyone in this room has experienced shame, guilt, frustration, uncertainty. Okay? And she said it's nice to just drop my shields, let my guard down, let my hair down, and just talk and share things. Okay. So, as part of being tactful when you're talking with a group of people, don't assume that they don't know what you're talking about. Share how you feel. But approach it as we're in this together. Not, you all don't understand. I'm better. I'm different. I'm better. Because that's how it came across. So I would caution that you know. And be aware of your audience. This was, again, someone in their 20s, maybe early 30s. Young, perfect frame, transitioning. Um, Thin. The hormones have been nice and generous to her. Breasts, an hourglass shape, and she was complaining about something, which she has every right to complain about and share with the group. But in that room, there were 3 trans women wearing wigs because they've gone bald. They don't have the hair to grow their own hair. And I promise you, if they could, they'd do anything to have half the amount of hair that she had. I mean, just again, you know, they're reminded on a daily basis of their limitations when they take off their wigs to go to sleep. And when they get up in the morning, they have to groom their wig. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had a wig. I because I worked in theater, and I had to take and when I was in college, I had to take a class on costume makeup and everything. You know, it's a lot of work to take care of a wig and maintain it and then wear it. You know, and it's itchy. It hurts after a while. The elastic and everything. It gets annoying. You sweat underneath of it. Okay. And so, if you can, be aware of who you're around. And they say, you know, don't judge another person till you walk a mile in their moccasins. You know, to just be aware. Like I said, when you're around other trans women and people, probably in general, you know, they might have baggage, thing carrying around, dealing with things. You know, and that kind of dovetails into the previous topic. Be thankful for what you have. And you know, the older fucks like me, you know, we didn't have access to things that the younger kids today do. You know, there's 1 or 2 surgeons now in town who you can go to for gender reassignment stuff. And it used to be, you know, when I was in my 20s, there was only a handful, you know. Dr. Biber, the Biber button. And I'm trying to remember who it was. The standards of care. I can't think of his name. Was it Stanley something or other? He was the one that developed the standards of care that became adopted as the, you know, what we all have to follow if we want surgery. You know, we just didn't have access to it, and so I guess what I'm driving to is, you know, again, use some tact and diplomacy, and you know, again, I think for this person, it seems like whenever I hear them talk, you know, they're very quick to step on other people and push them down, and it kind of like to elevate themselves and to make them look better. And you know, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I felt it, and I can only imagine what else is going on. But back to the idea of kind of being tactful. Be aware of who's around you and what they're going through. If you can, it's okay to express your opinion, but if in doing so you're insulting other people, you know, be aware. And that kind of comes again back into the other, you know, being recognize your limitations and being thankful for the things that you have. Um, maybe that's just part of the maturity side of it. I don't know. But yeah, I yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Hmm. I don't want to be insulting. I'm not trying to be. But it's not she wasn't the only one I've seen do it. Be aware. Like I said, it's real easy to step on someone else's feelings, and because we're so not self-centered, we're focused on ourselves, and maybe years and years of not being focused on ourselves, maybe that's only a natural reaction. But like I said, be aware of who's around, who's your audience is, and the other thing I would say is there's a lot of venues to ask for help, and I've seen this behavior as well. Oh, I'm dying today. I'm drowning today. You know, someone goes to Facebook and they'll say I'm drowning, I'm dying, and we'll be like, real quick, well, what's wrong? What's happening? Oh, I'll PM you. Okay. You know, um, I've had another person I've encountered who wants the help on their terms, if that makes any sense. I had given them a Google um, a Google Friends. I've forgotten what it's called now. Microsoft has Zoom. Google has Hangouts. So I could talk to her immediately. I happened to be online, and she wrote me back and said, "Well, I don't do computers." And I was just like, "Really? Okay. You're in dire straits, and you're on the internet on Facebook, and you can't." You know what I mean? It just burned me for a minute, and I was like, "How serious do you really need my help?" Um, you know, there's a saying, "Opportunity is seldom a lengthy visitor." And if you put out a SOS and someone reaches out to you and you turn them away because it's not convenient for you at your, that just, I don't know. Is your problem that dire? I guess that's the story of the boy who cried wolf. But I don't know. I hope I'm not coming across as a judgmental bitch. I made a statement yesterday. I don't feel like a bitch. I feel like a dick because I don't have that estrogen in me. Today I'm feeling a little motherly because I had a really good D&D game last night. I'm really happy about it. I'm much like a mother and her children. I'm very happy with my players. I'm very happy with my players. Just I'm so happy. I'm happy to see people have fun playing, and in this day and age, particularly now, it's nice to have a bit of an escape. It's nice to have a bit of a, and I'm going to say not necessarily a catharsis, but an something that will relieve stress and something where you get to interact with other people and achieve a common goal and like I said, interact, and there's some surprises and humor. That's a good game of D&D. So I'm feeling kind of motherly today. I'm very happy. But anyway, so I've talked too much. I hope you have a wonderful day, whatever you're gonna do, and I wish you the best of luck in your transition. And I guess one more point. Sorry, P.S. This thing goes on the rest of our lives. I'm discovering, at least for me, a transition. We need a better word. We need. It's like there are things that happen as a result of our transition. Maybe we can continue to use transition. It just transition to me Transition to me sounds like something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And there are things that are happening that should be past the end stage. Psychological things. For example, dealing with my ex-wife has found a fiance, and I'm very happy for them. I'm happy that she gets to be with someone and she gets to be her authentic self. She's a lesbian, obviously, and something she could not happen with me. I'm happy that she will get to have that experience, as I hope we all do, me myself included, one day. So I'm happy for her. Um, but all the things that come with that, seeing, like an old boyfriend or an old girlfriend with someone else, you know, there are things that were brought about because of my transition, but not necessarily dependent on my transition, because cis people have the same thing, right? They date someone, they break up, they see someone they were involved with someone else. I mean, it's part of life. So it's like our transition dovetails into other things that are just part of life, part of getting older. But I would like to, because I don't know how we can address that. If there's a different name for it, or if we can just continue to say as part of my transition. Uh, but again, it's like we transition, and it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on, and thank goodness have access to counseling and therapy and everything, and I'm hoping that um, one day the United States will be like its partners, its compatriots in the world, and have some sort of free healthcare system for everybody, so everyone can have access to that mental health. Um, that would probably be a good thing. That would probably be a good thing. It's an idea. There was a thing on Facebook yesterday about someone who does scholarships for surgery. If you're a couple $1,000s short, it would give you so much money for surgery. But wouldn't it be cool to have some kind of organization that would allow mental health counseling? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Because, surgery is an event. It has a start, a beginning, and an end. Ooh, beginning and an end. But this mental health thing goes on and on and on and on and on. I'll have to think about that. Maybe that's something I can see about fruit coming into fruition. But anyway, the sun is up. It's time to get up off my ass, do something else. But I wish you the best of luck in finding your authentic self. I'm going to reach for my mouse, so I'm going to turn off the video. Best of luck today. Seize the day, as they say. And if you can, count your blessings. I do it. I forget, and I do it every so often. Not once, not a week goes by that I feel like I forget what I look like. And I go and I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh yeah, you transitioned, and to count my blessings on that. So, anyway, best of luck to you. Good luck. You have a great day. Bye.